Armando Salguero of the Miami Herald is on the phone right here on the Rich Eisen Show. Armando, why hasn't Ndamukong Suh been announced since we thought this was a done deal over the weekend?
Yeah, Rich, that is the source of many conspiracy theories, as you know. There's a couple of theories out there that the Dolphins are laying low because they're afraid of the NFL and possible sanctions. That's not the case. The case is the Dolphins had salary cap issues that they needed to clear up. They didn't have room for Ndamukong Suh until just a couple of hours ago. So I would tell you that that's going to happen later today, and there will be a press conference, I would assume, later today as well.
But I thought you needed to be cap compliant by yesterday. So they were cap compliant, but they weren't Suh cap compliant until just a couple of hours ago, is what you're saying.
Correct. It's not that they weren't cap compliant. They were cap compliant, but once you sign Ndamukong Suh, he's big, bulky, $114 million contract with $60 million fully guaranteed. That sits on your cap, like an elephant. And once that happens, you better have enough space to fit all that in, and that's what they were trying to get to.
Well, I guess that doesn't matter if you're the big, bulky elephant that gets to sit on top of Tom Brady, if you're hoping for that to be the case for the Dolphins. How does this help the Dolphins win football games, in your estimation, Armando Salguero?
They were the number 24 run defense in the NFL last year. And Ndamukong Suh and the Detroit Lions were the number 1 run defense in the NFL last year. You cannot win football games if the NFL is basically telling everyone, you are able to pass, you can pass, and the rules are set up for you to pass. And then on top of that, your defense can't stop the run either. It's a bad situation. So the Dolphins expect that with Ndamukong Suh in the fold, they'll be able to at least stop the run. That's for sure.
Armando Salguero of the Miami Herald joining me here now. So you're reporting Randy Starks getting cut. That's how they got cap compliant for Suh?
Well, Randy Starks was cut. Yesterday, Philip Wheeler was cut. Yesterday, Brandon Gibson was cut. They've cut Brian Hartline before that. They're not re-signing Jared Odrick. They have cleared a bunch of cap space, and they have yet to deal with Donnell Ellerbe. And they're trying to restructure Mike Wallace. Those last two moves, Ellerbe and Wallace, that's so that they can go forward and do things like draft. So it's going to be interesting how they manage the cap.
Armando, it's just so in order to make sure they can draft players, they still have to clear space because they're getting such a space eater, figuratively and literally, on the cap and on the field in Ndamukong Suh. Should Dolphin fans be concerned or excited that Suh is coming, in your estimation?
No, they obviously are excited. Look, part of this move was to get the fan base charged up a little bit. Ownership was very much involved in that. Stephen Ross likes to make a splash, likes his team to be the center of attention. And so this move does that. It does improve, their chances of winning on the field because it improves their defense. But there are repercussions. There's a ripple effect in that all of a sudden, for example, tight end Charles Clay is visiting the Buffalo Bills. He's going to get offered a restricted franchise, a restricted tender. They're going to make it. They're going to author it such that the Dolphins won't be able to match because they can't fit Clay under the salary cap. And so they're probably going to lose Charles Clay because, they're paying Ndamukong Suh. It's just, you can't have it both ways.
So what happens when Ryan Tannehill needs a new contract, Armando, and the defensive tackle is making franchise quarterback money? Is that something that the Dolphins just figure they're going to have to deal with down the road, and that better to deal with it then and let's play 2015, or are they potentially preparing for it right now?
Well, they are preparing for it. They also expect the cap to go up in the next few years, so there will be space. The Detroit Lions, they fit Matt Stafford and Ndamukong Suh and Calvin Johnson under their salary cap, and I recognize that, Suh at the time wasn't making $19 million a year like he's going to be in Miami, but those other guys were, up there. So you can fit 3 major contracts under the cap, and then you have to kind of fill in around them. The Dolphins are already doing that with Sue. They're going to do that with Ryan Tannehill. They've got one more guy that they probably can do that with if they manage it right.
Armando, thanks for calling in. Appreciate it.
All right, Rich. Be well.
You bet. That's Armando Salguero of the Miami Herald.
The Rich Eisen Show, weekdays at noon Eastern. On Audience.